This story is titled, Parents Raised My Rent to Support My Golden Child Brother. So I left, and now they're desperate for me to come back. Hey everyone, I just wanted to share something real with you. The channel's been slowing down a bit recently, and honestly, I put a lot of time and effort into finding these stories to keep bringing you the best content. If you enjoy what I do, it would mean the world if you hit that subscribe button. Your support really makes all the difference and keeps this journey going strong. Thanks so much for being here with me. Now let's start the video. OP starts by saying, Hey everyone, my name's Alex and I'm 22. I don't usually post about personal stuff, but I feel like I need to get this off my chest. My family situation has been a mess lately, and I don't know what to do anymore. Maybe hearing some outside perspectives will help me figure things out. So, here goes. I'm currently in college, studying software design. It's something I've been passionate about for a long time, and my dream is to start my own company someday. I work part-time as a junior developer to save up money for my future, while also covering my personal expenses. Since my college is close to my parents' house, I decided to live at home to save on transportation and rent costs. But let me make this clear. I'm not freeloading. I pay my parents $550 every month to contribute to rent and other household expenses. I figured it was fair because it's probably what I'd spend if I lived with roommates, so why not help out my family instead? Things were going fine, or at least as fine as they could be living with my parents. Don't get me wrong, my relationship with them has always been a little complicated. It's pretty obvious they have a favorite child. My older brother, Ryan, is the golden child of the family. He's 23, married, and has 2 kids. Growing up, he was always the one who got into trouble. Skipping school, getting into fights, breaking curfews, you name it, Ryan did it. But no matter what he did, my parents always had his back. Meanwhile, I've been the one who tries to follow the rules, work hard, and stay out of trouble, yet I never get the same level of support or attention. Anyway, about a year ago, Ryan moved out with his wife and kids after borrowing money from my parents and his in-laws to start a business. He claimed it was this big opportunity in construction, and he even bought a house. I was skeptical, but I figured, hey, maybe this time he's actually serious about taking responsibility. Fast forward to now, and surprise, surprise, he's back. He showed up at my parents' house with his entire family, claiming he just needs to stay for a while until a massive payout from his business comes through. He's talking about millions of dollars and promising to buy our family a mansion in some rich neighborhood once he gets the money. My parents are eating it up like it's gospel, hanging on to every word he says. Here's the problem. While Ryan and his family live here rent-free, I'm still expected to pay my $550 every month. And guess how much Ryan is paying? Yep, zero. Nada. Zilch. My parents don't seem to care that he's contributing nothing. It's like they're blind to the fact that he's been leeching off everyone around him his entire life. Meanwhile, the house has turned into complete chaos. Ryan's 2 kids are adorable, but they're toddlers, so they're naturally loud and messy. They've taken over the living room with their toys, and it's impossible to find any peace and quiet. I've tried setting up my workspace in my room, but even that isn't safe. The kids burst in constantly, and Ryan doesn't even try to stop them. He just laughs it off like it's no big deal. His wife isn't much better. She leaves their mess everywhere, from dirty dishes in the sink to laundry piling up in the hallway. What really gets to me is that Ryan and his wife act like they own the place. They've completely taken over the kitchen, and if I so much as ask for a turn to cook, I get eye rolls and passive-aggressive comments about how family shares everything. Yeah, except apparently they don't share in paying for anything. I tried talking to my parents about it, but they just brush me off. My mom told me I need to understand that Ryan is going through a tough time and that family helps family. When I asked if Ryan was going to start pitching in for rent or groceries, she got defensive and told me not to bring it up again. At this point, I feel like a stranger in my own home. I work hard to save money and plan for my future, but it feels like none of that matters to my parents. All they care about is Ryan and his business that may or may not even exist. It's like they're living in this fantasy world where Ryan is some kind of self-made millionaire, and I'm just here to foot the bill while they wait for his big payday. I thought about moving out, but the idea stresses me out. Rent is expensive, and I don't have a huge income. My part-time job pays decently, but between tuition, bills, and trying to save for my future, there's not a lot left over. Plus, I feel like moving out would be admitting defeat. Why should I have to uproot my life because Ryan refuses to take responsibility? It's not fair. I guess what I'm trying to figure out is whether I'm in the wrong here. Should I suck it up and pay more to keep the peace? Or am I right to feel like this is completely unfair? I've always been the type of person who avoids conflict, but this situation is pushing me to my limit. I'm tired of being the one who always has to compromise while Ryan gets a free pass. So yeah, that's my current dilemma. I feel stuck between wanting to stand up for myself and not wanting to make things worse with my family. If anyone's been in a similar situation, I'd love to hear how you handled it. I'll keep you all updated on what happens next. Thanks for reading. Update 1 point. Hey again, it's Alex. So, like I said in the first post, I've been trying to figure out how to handle all this mess with my family. Things were already tense, but recently, it's gone from bad to worse. Honestly, I don't even know where to begin. Last week, my mom came into my room, acting like she was just checking in on me, but I could tell something was up. She started with small talk, asking how work was going, but then quickly shifted the conversation. She said something like, "You know, Alex, since Ryan and his family are staying with us now, the household expenses have gone up a lot." I could feel where this was heading, but I didn't say anything yet. Then she hit me with it. "We're going to need you to pitch in a bit more to help cover everything." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I mean, I've been paying my share, more than my share, for years. I've never once asked for a free ride or complained about my contributions. Meanwhile, Ryan and his wife aren't paying for anything, and they've practically taken over the house. So I asked her straight up, "What about Ryan? Is he going to start paying rent too?" My mom's reaction? She got annoyed and said something vague about how Ryan is in a tough spot right now, and how family helps family. Then she just walked out of my room like the conversation was over. I was fuming. It's not even about the money at this point, it's the principle of it. Why am I the only one who has to step up and help the family while Ryan gets a free pass? The next day, my dad backed her up. Over breakfast, he casually mentioned that I should consider contributing more since we're all in this together. I tried to argue my case, but he cut me off before I could even finish. He just got up, said, "Think about it," and walked away. I glanced over at Ryan, hoping for some kind of support or acknowledgement, but he just looked at me and kept eating like nothing was happening. Later that night, after I got home from work, I decided I needed to confront my mom again. I told her I couldn't afford to pay more than I already was. Between tuition, bills, and saving for my future, I was stretched thin as it was. But she didn't care. She started going on about how I needed to sacrifice for the family and how Ryan has kids to take care of. Like, yeah, I get that he has kids, but he's also an adult. Why is it suddenly my job to support his family? Since then, my parents have been giving me the cold shoulder. They barely talk to me, and when they do, it's just passive-aggressive comments about how I'm not being a team player. Ryan, of course, hasn't said a word about it. He just sits back, letting me take all the heat while he continues to live rent-free. His wife hasn't been much better. She started making little remarks like, "It must be nice to have so much money saved up," or, "I wish we had the luxury of focusing on ourselves like you do." I almost laughed the first time she said that because, seriously, what luxury? I've been busting my ass to save every penny while she and Ryan contribute absolutely nothing. What really stings is how little my parents seem to care about everything I've been doing. I've been working hard, staying out of trouble, and paying my way, but none of that seems to matter to them. Meanwhile, Ryan screws up constantly, and they bend over backward to support him. It's like no matter what I do, I'll never measure up to him in their eyes. The breaking point came a few days ago. I was sitting in my room, trying to get some studying done, when my mom barged in without knocking. She dropped a toddler bed in the corner of my room and said, "We're going to set this up in here for the kids. They need more space." I was stunned. My room is the one place in this house that's supposed to be mine. "This is my room. They're trying to turn it into a nursery. You can't just decide to take it over." She just rolled her eyes and said, "Don't be dramatic, Alex. It's not a big deal." I stood my ground, though, and eventually she stormed out, muttering something about how selfish I was. The next day, things escalated even more. I came home from work to find Ryan's wife going through my desk drawers. When I asked her what she was doing, she just smiled and said, "Oh, I was looking for a pen." A pen? There's an entire drawer full of pens in the kitchen, but she decided to invade my personal space instead? It felt so disrespectful. But when I brought it up to Ryan, he just shrugged and said, "She didn't mean anything by it." I tried to let it go, but later that night, I overheard Ryan talking to my parents. He was saying something about how I need to be more supportive and how it's time for Alex to step up and help the family. My blood was boiling. Not only was he freeloading, but now he was trying to guilt trip me into giving up even more of my money and my space for him. That's when I realized I couldn't do this anymore. I've spent my whole life trying to be the good kid, thinking that if I worked hard enough, my parents would finally see my worth. But I've finally accepted that it's never going to happen. They'll always choose Ryan, no matter how much he screws up or how much I succeed. I started looking at apartments that night. It wasn't an easy decision. I don't have a ton of money, and I know moving out will make things even more strained with my family. But I can't keep living like this. I'm tired of being treated like a second-class citizen in my own home. If my parents want to put Ryan on a pedestal, fine. But they're going to have to do it without my help. So, yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I'm officially done trying to please people who don't appreciate me. I haven't told my family yet, but I've started packing my things little by little. I don't know what their reaction will be when they find out, but at this point, I don't really care. I just want to get out and start living my own life. Thanks for listening, everyone. I'll update you soon with what happens next. Wish me luck. Update 2.0. Hey, it's Alex again. Things have been pretty crazy since my last update, but I'm finally starting to see a light at the end of the tunnel. After everything that's gone down with my parents and Ryan, I've made up my mind. I'm moving out. It's not going to be easy, but at this point, staying here feels impossible. So let me walk you through how I'm planning to pull this off without completely blowing up my relationship with my family. Well, not right away at least. First things first, I started looking for apartments. Let me tell you, finding a place that's affordable, close enough to work and school, and not a complete dump is harder than I thought. Most of the places I found were either way out of my budget or in neighborhoods that felt sketchy. I didn't want to rush into anything, but I also knew I couldn't stay in my parents' house much longer without losing my mind. Every day, the tension was getting worse. My mom kept dropping hints about how things are tight right now and how we all need to make sacrifices. Ryan, of course, was completely oblivious. He and his wife were busy turning the house into their personal playground, and I was just trying to stay out of their way. Eventually, a friend of a friend came through for me. They knew someone, a guy named Jake, who was looking for a roommate. Jake had just rented a small 2-bedroom apartment and needed someone to split the rent and bills. I was skeptical at first. I mean, moving in with a stranger isn't exactly ideal, but after meeting Jake and checking out the apartment, I started to feel like this might actually work. The place was nothing fancy, just a basic setup with a tiny kitchen and a shared bathroom. But it was clean, affordable, and only about a 20-minute walk from campus. The best part was far enough from my parents' house that I wouldn't have to deal with any surprise visits. After we talked it over, Jake agreed to let me move in. We settled on splitting everything 50-50, which would bring my share of the rent to around $400 a month, less than what I've been paying my parents. Even with bills and groceries added in, I'd still be saving money compared to what I'm dealing with now. It felt like a no-brainer. The tricky part was figuring out how to leave without creating a huge scene. I knew if I told my parents I was planning to move out, they'd do everything in their power to stop me. My mom would probably go full guilt trip mode, talking about how I was abandoning the family and how they needed me to help out. My dad would just get angry and accuse me of being ungrateful. And Ryan? He'd probably laugh it off and assume I was bluffing. So I decided to keep it a secret. Over the next couple of weeks, I started packing my stuff little by little. I didn't want to raise any red flags, so I hid most of it in the back of my closet or tucked it away in storage bins. When no one was home, I'd sneak a few things out to my car and drive them over to Jake's place. It was a slow process, but I knew it was the only way to avoid a full-blown family meltdown. During this time, I started pulling back from my family more and more. I stopped eating dinner with them, opting to grab quick meals in my room instead. I avoided any conversations about money or family responsibilities, and focused on getting through each day without losing my temper. It wasn't easy. Every time my mom made a passive-aggressive comment about how everyone needs to pitch in, or Ryan's wife left a mess in the kitchen for me to clean up, I wanted to scream, but I kept reminding myself that it wouldn't be like this for much longer. I had an end date in sight, and that kept me going. One of the hardest parts was keeping my cool around the kids. Like I've said before, I love my niece and nephew, but they've been driving me up the wall lately. They've taken over the living room, the kitchen, and even my room on some days. I can't tell you how many times I've come home from work or class to find toys scattered everywhere, sticky handprints on my desk, or crayon marks on my walls. I tried setting boundaries, but it was like talking to a brick wall. Ryan just laughed it off, and his wife acted like I was being unreasonable. "They're just kids, Alex," she'd say, like that was supposed to make everything okay. Meanwhile, I was counting down the days until I could finally have my own space again. The final straw came a few days ago when I overheard Ryan and my mom talking about my savings. I've been working my ass off for years to save up for my dream of starting a software company. It's not much yet, but it's mine, and I've been really proud of how disciplined I've been about sticking to my budget. So imagine my shock when I heard Ryan telling my mom that I should help the family by chipping in some of my savings. He actually said, Alex doesn't need all that money right now. He can start his company later. Family comes first. Are you kidding me? I couldn't believe the audacity. I confronted him about it later, and he acted like I was the selfish one for not wanting to give up my hard-earned money. We're all struggling right now, Alex, he said, like his situation was even remotely comparable to mine. I told him flat out that my savings were off limits and that he needed to start taking responsibility for his own family. He just rolled his eyes and walked away. That was it for me. I went back to my room, grabbed a box, and started packing the last of my things. I was done. I didn't care what my parents or Ryan thought anymore. I knew I deserved better than this. So now, everything is set. I've signed the lease, packed my stuff, and made plans to move out this weekend. I haven't told my parents yet. I figure it's better to rip the Band-Aid off once I'm already gone. I'll leave a note or something explaining my decision, but I'm not going to stick around for the fallout. They can deal with Ryan and his freeloading ways on their own. I know this is going to cause a lot of drama, but honestly, I don't care anymore. I need to do what's best for me, and staying in that house isn't it. I'm ready to start fresh in a place where I can actually focus on my goals without all the chaos and stress holding me back. Wish me luck, guys. I'll let you know how it all goes in the next update. Update 3. Hey everyone, it's Alex again. I finally did it. I moved out. Let me tell you, it wasn't smooth sailing, but I feel like a massive weight has been lifted off my shoulders. This whole experience has been a whirlwind of emotions. Excitement, fear, relief, but I don't regret a thing. Here's how it all went down. So, I planned my move for the weekend when I knew my parents and Ryan's family would be out of the house. They were going to some family friends' barbecue, and I figured it was the perfect opportunity to get everything done without confrontation. I spent the entire week leading up to it, packing the last of my things, making sure everything was ready to go. By the time Saturday rolled around, my car was packed to the brim, and I was ready to leave. I have to admit, it felt weird walking through the house one last time. For all the chaos and drama, it was still the place I grew up in. I stood in my room for a minute, just taking it all in. It wasn't fancy, but it had been my space for years. It felt bittersweet knowing I was leaving it behind, but I kept reminding myself why I was doing this. I needed to put myself first for once. When I got to my new place, Jake was already there to help me unload. I can't tell you how good it felt to see my stuff in an entirely new space, one that was all mine. The apartment isn't anything fancy, just a small 2-bedroom with a shared living room and kitchen, but it's quiet, clean, and most importantly, drama-free. I set up my room with my desk, bed, and a few personal touches. And for the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. The first night in my new place was surreal. I didn't realize how much noise and stress I'd been living with until I was surrounded by complete silence. No kids running around, no arguments about money, no one barging into my room without knocking. I sat at my desk, opened my laptop, and actually got some work done for the first time in weeks. It felt amazing. Of course, the peace didn't last long. By Sunday evening, my phone was blowing up. My mom had finally noticed I wasn't home and started calling nonstop. I ignored the first few calls, but eventually I knew I had to answer. When I picked up, she didn't even give me a chance to say hello before she started yelling. Alex, where are you? Why aren't you home? We've been calling you all day. I kept my cool and calmly said, I don't live there anymore. I've moved out. You could have heard a pin drop on the other end. Then she exploded. What do you mean you've moved out? Why didn't you tell us? How could you do this to your family? She went on and on about how I was abandoning them and how they'd been counting on me to help with expenses. When I tried to explain that I'd been paying more than my fair share for years, while Ryan contributed nothing, she completely brushed it off. Ryan has kids, Alex. You don't understand what it's like to be a parent. That was the point where I knew there was no reasoning with her. I said, Mom, I've done everything I could to help, but I can't live like that anymore. If you want to support Ryan, that's your choice, but I'm not going to keep sacrificing my own life for it. Then I hung up. I didn't have the energy to keep arguing. The next day, the messages started. My mom sent me a long text about how I was being selfish and ungrateful, followed by another about how I was tearing the family apart. My dad chimed in too, saying he was disappointed in me and that I needed to grow up and understand the importance of family. Ryan even had the audacity to text me saying, Wow, way to screw over mom and dad when they need you most. Real mature. I didn't respond to any of it. I knew it wouldn't change their minds, and honestly, I was too exhausted to care. I spent the day settling into my new place, getting groceries, and organizing my room. For the first time in years, I felt like I was in control of my own life. A few days later, my mom called again. This time, she wasn't yelling. She sounded more desperate than angry. She started talking about how hard things had been since I left, how they were struggling to pay bills, and how Ryan's kids were upset that I wasn't around anymore. She even tried to guilt trip me by saying, "We've always supported you, Alex. Is this how you repay us?" I took a deep breath and said, "Mom, I love you, but I've been supporting myself for years. I've been paying rent, working, and saving for my future, while Ryan hasn't contributed a thing. I can't keep putting my life on hold to clean up his messes. It's not fair." She didn't take it well. She started crying, saying she didn't know how they were going to manage without me. It was hard to hear, but I stood my ground. I told her I wasn't coming back, and that they needed to figure things out with Ryan. After that, she hung up, and I haven't heard from her since. Ryan, on the other hand, hasn't stopped trying to contact me. He keeps texting, asking for money, and saying I'm being selfish for not helping out. At one point, he even said, "You've always been the responsible one. Why can't you just step up and help your family?" I almost laughed when I read that. The nerve of this guy. Despite all the drama, I feel like I made the right decision. My new place is quiet, my roommate is cool, and I'm finally able to focus on my studies and work without constant distractions. It hasn't been easy cutting ties with my family, but I know it was necessary. I can't keep sacrificing my own happiness and future for people who don't appreciate me. So yeah, that's where I'm at now. I don't know what the future holds, but for the first time in a long time, I feel hopeful. Thanks to everyone who's been following my story and offering advice. It's helped more than you know. I'll probably post one final update soon to let you all know how things turn out. Final update. Hey everyone, it's Alex again, and this will probably be my last update. It's been a couple of weeks since I moved out, and honestly, I feel like a completely different person. The fallout from my decision hasn't been pretty, but it's also shown me who my family really is, and who I am when I'm not living under their constant judgment. So, let's dive into how things have been since I left. First off, my mom's reaction hasn't changed much. After her initial meltdown when I told her I was moving out, she switched into full-on guilt trip mode. The texts kept coming every single day, filled with dramatic statements like, "How could you leave us in this situation?" And, "Don't you care about your family?" At one point, she even said, "We sacrificed so much for you, Alex, and this is how you repay us?" It was hard to read those messages without feeling a pang of guilt. I mean, I do love my parents. They've done a lot for me growing up, and I'll always be grateful for that. But what they don't seem to realize is that love and gratitude don't mean letting yourself be taken advantage of. For years, I've been the one keeping things afloat while Ryan contributed nothing. I've paid my share, cleaned up their messes, and put my own needs aside time and time again. Enough is enough. I thought my dad might take a more practical approach, but nope, he's just as bad. He called me a few days after I moved out, and the conversation was exhausting, to say the least. He started off calm, asking me why I felt the need to leave without talking to them first. I explained as clearly as I could that I was tired of being treated like a second-class family member. I told him that I'd been paying rent for years, doing my part, and that it wasn't fair for them to expect me to shoulder even more of the financial burden while Ryan got a free pass. His response? "Alex, you need to understand that Ryan's in a tough spot. He's trying to get his life together. And as his brother, it's your job to support him. Family sticks together." I couldn't believe it. I said, "Dad, Ryan's been in a tough spot his entire life because you and Mom never hold him accountable for anything. I'm done cleaning up his messes. If you want to keep enabling him, that's your choice. But I'm not going to be part of it anymore." That didn't go over well. He accused me of being selfish, of abandoning the family, and even of turning my back on Ryan's kids. That one hurt the most because I do care about my niece and nephew. They're just kids, and none of this is their fault. But it's not my job to sacrifice my future for them, especially when their own parents refuse to step up. Speaking of Ryan, he's been blowing up my phone too. His messages are a mix of guilt-tripping and outright demands. One minute he's saying, "I can't believe you'd leave Mom and Dad in the lurch like this." And the next, he's asking for money to help get back on his feet. At one point, he even sent me this long message about how I've always been the responsible one, and how it's my duty to help him out because that's what family does. I didn't respond to any of it. Honestly, what's the point? Ryan has spent his entire life avoiding responsibility, and I'm not going to be the one to bail him out again. If he wants to turn his life around, great. But he's going to have to do it without my help. On the flip side, life in my new apartment has been amazing. It's small, sure, but it's quiet and peaceful, and I finally feel like I have space to breathe. Jake, my roommate, has been super chill. We split the bills and groceries evenly, and there's no drama, no guilt trips, no ridiculous expectations. I've been able to focus on my work and studies for the first time in what feels like forever. I even finished a big project for my software design class last week, something I probably couldn't have done if I was still living at home. The best part? I've started to feel like myself again. For so long, I was stuck in this cycle of trying to prove my worth to my parents, hoping that if I worked hard enough or contributed enough, they'd finally see me as equal to Ryan. But now I realize that's never going to happen, and that's okay. Their favoritism says more about them than it does about me. I don't need their approval to live my life or chase my dreams. I've been talking to a couple of close friends about everything, and their support has been a lifesaver. They've helped me see that setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's necessary. Just because someone is family doesn't mean they have the right to take advantage of you. That's a hard lesson to learn, but I'm glad I finally did. As for my parents and Ryan, I've decided to go low contact for now. I still check in with my mom occasionally to let her know I'm okay, but I keep the conversations short and steer clear of any topics related to money or Ryan. It's not perfect, but it's what I need to do to protect my sanity. Maybe one day things will get better, but for now, I'm focusing on myself. So, what's next for me? I'm going to keep saving up for my dream of starting a software company. I don't know how long it'll take or what challenges I'll face along the way, but for the first time in a long time, I feel hopeful. I know I have the skills and determination to make it happen, and without the constant stress of my family weighing me down, I feel like anything is possible. To everyone who's followed my story and offered advice, thank you. Your support has meant the world to me, and it's helped me see that I'm not alone in dealing with toxic family dynamics. If you're in a similar situation, please know that it's okay to stand up for yourself. You deserve to be treated with respect, and sometimes the best thing you can do is walk away. This is Alex, signing off. Here's to new beginnings.